Today you're going to learn to estimate square roots to a given number of decimal places and solving problems using square roots. Each square root is between two integers. Name the integers. So we have here the square root of 55. If you look back at your list of perfect squares, you know the square root of 55 would fall between the square root of 49 and the square root of 64. So that lets us know that the square root of 55 is between 7 and 8 because 55 is between 49 and 64. Each square root is between two integers. Here we have a negative square root of 90. So if we're thinking about that, which two integers would negative square root of 90 fall between? Negative square root of 81, negative square root of 100. So the square root of negative 90 is between negative 9 and negative 10 because 90 is between 81 and 100. Here's another example. We're looking at the square root of 80. Again, what are the perfect squares close to 80? That would be 64 and 81. The square root of 80 is between 8 and 9 because 80 is between 64 and 81. Now, when you're writing these, you're going to put them a little closer to whichever number there is. You're going to estimate where they need to be. Perfect squares near negative 45, 36, and 49. And with this one, we see that it's closer to 7, negative 7. So we put our answer at about negative 7.6, somewhere up in there, because that will be a good estimate of what that square root is. Application problem. You want to sew a fringe on a square tablecloth with an area of 500 inches. Calculate the length of each side of the tablecloth and the length of the fringe you will need to the nearest tenth of an inch. Well, let's go back and look at what we know about a square. That's part of understanding the problem. Find the length of the side. Then you can use the length to find the perimeter, the length of the fringe around the tablecloth. So your perimeter is talking about that fringe around the tablecloth. Make a plan. The length of the side in feet is the number that you multiply by itself to get 500. To be accurate, find this number to the nearest tenth. If you do not know a step-by-step method for finding the square root of 500, use guess and check. It's pretty much the easiest one. And this is going a little higher than the numbers that we normally have. It tells us here that it's between 22 squared and 23 squared. So this time they're giving you the number line, and you need to determine which one is it closer to. Is it closer to 22 or 23? So they're telling us here that 22.5 squared is 506.25, so that's too high. 22.2 squared is 492.84, so that's too low. So that square root is getting even closer. It has to be somewhere between there. 22.4 is again too high, so it's less than that. And 22.3 is too low. So it's right between 22.3 and 22.4. So if I'm going to estimate that, I would say it's between those two, or you could even say 22.35. That would work as well. And then you solve. And this is what they did to the nearest tenth, 22.35. $5.2, which is 499, so it's a little low. It needs to be a little greater than that. So about 22.4. And it's still an estimate. The length of each side of the table is about 22.4. Now, our question was dealing with the perimeter. So we have to multiply that to get the perimeter of our square. We're going to add up all our sides or multiply by 4. And that's giving us our perimeter, which is 89.6. So you're going to need about 89.6 inches of the fringe to cover that tablecloth. And again, these are just the steps. Now, example 2, you're doing the same thing. You have a square garden here. You're calculating one length of the garden. You want to build a fence around. We know with our keywords, whenever we're building a fence around something, then we're looking for the perimeter of that. But in order to find that perimeter, we have to find the length of one side. So we also know when it's dealing with a square, then our sides are equal. And when we're defining area, it's length times width, so they're the same, so it's going to be that side squared. Make our plan. We're looking for the square root of 250. So again, you're going to use your guessing check. It's between 15 and 16. We see that 15.5 is too low, 15.9 is too high, 15.7 is too low. We're getting closer. 15.8 is too low. So it's somewhere between 15.8 and 15.9. Then when you solve, again, you're looking at that, and you're going to round it, so it's about 15.8. Now, this is just going to keep going and give you different examples. Oh, this one is a little different. The length of the side of the garden is 15.8 feet. To the nearest tenth of a foot, estimate the length. Okay. So this is what we did here, same thing. And this is the same problem, they're just solving that. You can also use a calculator, and when you're using a calculator, you put in the square root of that number, whatever it comes out, you're rounding it to the nearest tenth in this case. And remember, your tenth is that place right after the decimal, so that's important to know. So it'll be about 24.5. Again, we're using our calculator here. You hit the square root button, put your number in, and enter. We round that to the nearest tenth. Since there's an 8 after that 2, we know we're going to keep it at 2, so it's going to be about, oh, I'm sorry, 8 after the 2 is going to go up to 3. Silly me. 28.3. All right, here's your lesson quiz. Now, if you are not able to complete this during the class, I need you to get this completed at this time and turn this in to me. You are to go on into additional practice for this unit if you still need help with it.